So, this is the point of the press conference that put Trump in hot water.
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
And with that, the press has, for years, been lying to you. They've taken one sentence out of a very rowdy exchange, completely out of context, so that they can paint Trump as some sort of Nazi sympathizer, including ABC News.
That now infamous moment in the wake of neo-Nazi protests in Charlottesville.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
And notice that they left this part out.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
And ABC News did it again here.
In one breath, he appears to defend neo-Nazis who fought with leftist groups in Virginia.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
You see what they're doing, right? They only show one portion of a much larger statement, and people believe it because it's the only part that the media shows. And they know it's dishonest, but they keep doing it because it undermines Trump and paints him as a racist.
You take somebody like Elaine Chao, who has worked in Washington for quite some time for some honorable men and women. How does she stay working for a white supremacist?
Not sure how one can be a white supremacist when they've totally condemned white supremacy. That's some crazy liberal logic for you. And if you think that the media are dishonest, let me introduce you to the biggest liar of them all, Democratic presidential nominee, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.
And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides?
And unless you just tuned in, you know that this is a lie. But he's going to keep saying it over and over again because he thinks that you're stupid.
It's also the 3rd anniversary of that terrible day in Charlottesville. Remember what it felt like to see those neo-Nazis? Close your eyes.
Sure, I'll play along.
And those Klansmen, white supremacists, coming out of fields.
Hang on, where are these fields exactly? Charlottesville is a college town completely devoid of any fields. So, not to defend evil white supremacists in any way, but they did not come out of fields. I should point out that the scumbag murderer who ran down a bunch of protesters, well, his name was, wait for it, Fields. His last name is Fields. And that means that when Joe Biden closes his eyes, he sees imagery that didn't actually take place. Maybe he's thinking of the ending of Frankenstein, I don't know.
You see these white supremacists coming out from under the rocks. He has yet once to condemn white supremacy, the neo-Nazis. He hasn't condemned a darn thing.
That's another blatant lie. Joe Biden is a liar, and if he's gonna lie about that, he'll lie about anything. And of course, former Clinton operative George Stephanopoulos just sits there and doesn't push back, because he wants his audience to believe that President Trump is coddling white supremacists. But thankfully, not everyone falls for the media's BS.
Why isn't it the easiest thing in the world for the president to say, neo-Nazis have no place in this country?
He said it Monday. He said it Monday. He didn't notify. He just came out on TV like it just happened.